This episode of the Survivor 50 Files is brought to you by our friends over at Manta Sleep. Summertime is officially here. The days are longer, the sun is brighter, and while all of that extra daylight can feel energizing, it can quickly sabotage your sleep. Later sunsets disrupt your body's circadian rhythm, making it harder to fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up feeling refreshed. That's where Manta Sleep comes in. Whether you're blocking out daylight or tuning out the sounds of summer nights, taking control of your sleep environment helps you get deep, restorative rest, no matter how long the sun stays up. I love this sleep mask. When we looked for a sponsor for this podcast, they were the first company that I jumped to. I bought one of these during COVID. I was sleeping very poorly. I had a lot of anxiety. This doubled the quality of my sleep. I am loyal to it, and I've been influencing for this way longer than this podcast. Visit the Manta Sleep website and use our discount code 50files. That's 50 FILES for 10% off your order. Discount code is 50files, 50 FILES. Let's get to the show. What is going on, everybody? Brandon Donlon here with the Survivor 50 Files. We are back to talk about Coach Wade, to talk about the whole journey of Coach Wade. And I am joined by a legend, two legends, not even a legend, a legendary alliance of two people, maybe the most famous alliance of two that doesn't have four children. Not the Marianos, not Boston Rob and Amber. It's Steven and JT. Guys, how are you?
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to talk to you, JT, on the Zoom or the screen anyway.
Yeah.
JT, how are you? You know, it's been a minute since you've been in the Rob as a podcast sphere. I'm sure a couple years since the last podcast appearance. How are things going down there?
They're good. Everything's good, man. I'm living the dream in Alabama.
Love it. Love it. Are
What
you
dream
still
is that?
keeping up?
Not my dream, but somebody else's, surely. Yeah, I keep up with it some. I don't follow it religiously like I used to, but I try to watch it. My mom does, and she's always calling me like, "Hey, did you see last night?" I was like, "No, not really." And she explains it to me. So I stay caught up pretty good.
Brandon, can you just give an update to JT on like your experience on Survivor, and just in case he missed you? I'm not sure if he was able to catch you.
I think I actually do remember his experience now.
What do you, JT, remember?
No, but I just wanted to hear Brandon. Yeah.
Okay.
I was curious how he would. Yeah.
I'm more interested in JT. If you remember anything, give me what you got. You know, I had a lot longer hair last time.
Oh yeah.
My gosh, that's tough.
Yeah. What give you what I remember of your season?
Sure. Yeah. Or just of me. You know,
Tell
just
me about
me. Tell me about me.
Well, I think I remember. If I remember your season correctly, you were your ally quit. Did she not quit? Was it a girl?
She did.
And like kind of left it immediately. Yeah, that's right. And you were having a tough time yourself. I remember, if I remember, you were contemplating quitting, and then she all of a sudden quit. Is that right?
No, so I was talking her out of quitting. And then I think that enticed her to be like, you know what, I'm good. I'm ready to get out of here. But I was having a tough time, but I was remembering, the guys I used to watch back in the day, which you two.
JT,
I was like, I got it, JT.
Brandon was the only person outside of my immediate family who was rooting for me to win the finals of Tocantins. That's why I have him to moderate.
There was people rooting for you, I'm sure. If you would have blew it so bad, the final tribal, you probably would have won. You let me beat you in speech writing. That's where you messed up.
Yeah. Didn't feel so great about that.
That's probably
that's why you kept on getting my job opportunity. It was like stunk afterwards. All these speech writing clients.
That was my one moment of fame to beat Steven and talking.
Wow, listen, this will be so much fun for everybody to hear. But you started your journey, 15 years ago in Tocantins, and you're in the airport, you're getting ready to leave, and you see this guy, this figure, this long-haired guy who you would later learn as Coach. JT, tell me your first impression of Coach.
Okay, my very first impression of Coach was Steven Seagal. I was like, this guy looks just like Steven Seagal. He was wearing a long duster robe. I mean, had the tattoos showing, hair and ponytail. I was like, this guy looks just like Steven Seagal. So I was thinking he's going to be a character. I thought he was going to be like a really physical, tough, hard-nosed guy, but he turned out to be quite the opposite. I mean, he's a really nice guy, open, softer guy, like just very genuine, nice guy. Coach was.
He was bigger too then. Like I don't think Coach
bigger.
has ever gotten as big as he was right before Tocantins. He was like really like just like big, you know, like
he lost
really
like 50
broad.
pounds on our season. I think he lost close to 50 pounds, and he
Yeah.
got like 5th place.
Yeah.
But he by far lost more than anybody. He was a
Yeah,
really
and
good
he also and he would like carry himself as he walked with just like such like, you know, just like really like a lot of gravitas about him as he walked through the airport. JT, on the other hand, did not you like when this is something, and not to like turn this into a Tocantins reminiscence, but one of the things I remember about you is like you were the only person to manage to like score a snack in that airport. I feel like you got like a Diet Coke or something, or a Coke, and then like there was only you. Yeah.
That sounds very true. I can't remember, but that's probably definitely happened. I am I'm a risk taker when it comes to like vending machines and whatnot. I'll slip by and get one. I don't know, but Coach was. I was trying to make eye contact with him early on because I felt like we could bond. We had a connection, and we ended up not being on the same tribe. And I said, well, maybe if it comes down to it, maybe he'll still be open. And I always kind of made eye contact with him at the challenges, hoping, if we were to make the merge, he would work with us. And it worked out. It really did.
Yeah, it really did. Like it was so like Coach even said at the time, like, I just felt so connected to JT, because of all that eye contact that they were making pre-game. I was
batting my eyelashes at him,
Were you, Steven, not making eye contact with anybody in the pregame, or were you?
No, I was making contact with everyone. Was making eye contact. You're all kind of like, but I really was like making eye contact with Carolina. I was like, that girl, like I got that one. Like she and I, and like that did nothing for me. Didn't even make an ally. Like I really should have. I was eye effing the wrong people.
And people may already know this, but they literally asked me pre-game, like right before we started, you've seen these people you're going to play with. Who is the one person you don't think we'll be able to make it out here? And I was like, oh my God, it's that guy. And I called Steven out. I pointed to you, Steven. I was like, that guy will never make it. He'll never make it. And then lo and behold, he becomes my best friend on the show.
Wow.
I'll never answer another question like that because it almost set it up. It was meant to be.
I was pretty jacked too before Tocantins, like compared to what I am now. The mess I am. Tocantins,
you
like
were,
really
you didn't walk like Coach though. You definitely did not walk like Coach. That's the thing. You're not putting off that sense of nobleness.
No, I sat next to Coach on the bus into Brazil, into Brazil. The bus into Brazil. The bus into like Tocantins, into the Tocantins area. And like he just like sat so like, firm. I was like nervous sitting next to him, just like sitting there like a titan.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
What was the conversation like about Coach on now the Jalapao camp while the game has started? Like, what are the observations you're making about Coach while the game's happening, just from afar?
Did we know that he was absurd at that point? I don't know if we did.
No, we had no idea. We were still thinking he was a physical threat and like really thinking he was, going to be a force to be reckoned with. And he is a great, savvy player. But we had no idea what we were in store for until we merged and he started telling us these Amazon stories and all this crazy stuff. We had no idea what to think.
Yeah, we knew that like he and Brendan we thought that we correctly assumed, and maybe something happened at a challenge, that there was like a rivalry between Brendan and Coach. Because that's why we kept on sending Brendan to exile, because we thought that it would like weaken his hold on the tribe. I don't, but like, we didn't. We just thought that he was like a big, strong guy out there. I mean, like everyone was saying, Last of the Mohicans, Steven Seagal, like the Glimmer Man. We were all, that was definitely like the touchstone.
Yeah, as soon as we merged, we knew that Coach was wanting to be the leader, and Brendan was naturally the leader of the tribe at the time. So we were definitely going to exploit that. But Coach is such a good guy, and he's the leader kind of guy. He's a people person. You really don't really get to know Coach on our season until after the season, because he's just, portrayed as a villain, I guess you could say. But he's such a nice guy. He just loves to talk a lot.
He's like a really sweet guy. Like that didn't come across.
So sweet, man.
He's like a sweetheart.
My mom, you could take him to dinner with anybody. And he's such a sweet guy. I mean, he'll never be mean to anyone, even if they're mean to him. Like Todd, a few times was ready to body slam Coach, and we were like, Todd, just hold on. And Coach grew on me. I mean, he's just a great guy. He never got sour about anything. He's a good guy.
I remember like after Tocantins, a lot of like people. Like I remember like one guy in particular was like, I'm gonna confront coach at this fan event. And I'm like, okay, like you do you. Because like coach is like a jerk. And then the guy like then afterwards the guy was like, oh yeah, and he told me, gave me my new nickname in the alliance, and like he just like people were like just so charmed by him. Everyone came up to him afterwards like wanting their nickname in the like Warrior Alliance. And he delivered. He really gave everybody a nickname.
Yeah, that's just it. He'll be there. I mean, he'd love to. More than
do you think that the people on 50 are going to have, do you think coaches, because when coach went back to Heroes versus Villains, he went back and he knew already what he was going to call everybody. He had already planned. It was like a little bit too much, like it was like too niche, it was like the third tier sorceress from Camelot. It was going to like, he was ready with that one.
Unfortunately, everyone else's knowledge doesn't go as far as coaches when it comes to names, books, and things,
But do you think he's gonna like come out like hot with like the Dragon Slayer stuff, or do you think he's gonna kind of like dial that back?
I don't think he can do away with it completely. He's going to nickname him. He can't help it. But he'll probably dial it back some.
Well, he's one of the first people, and I think of maybe Rupert as the first, but I think Coach is the first person to then go into his second season, like kind of leaning more into like that character that the show has built for him to be like, I am now. He was a Dragon Slayer before, but now he's like really, he comes in with pre-planned things. He's writing little letters on the votes to try to spell out Dragon Slayer, but I don't think that anybody else has done that as effectively as come in with their character as much as he did on that season.
I think you're Villains. Right. I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead, Steven.
No. I just was clarifying.
JT, before you guys leave for Heroes versus Villains, what was that like in terms of, did you know Coach was also going? Were there conversations with people leading up to leaving for Samoa?
No, Coach and I didn't talk. I found out that Coach was going to be there pretty close to when we left, but I didn't reach out to him. I kind of knew if given the opportunity, Coach and I would both be willing to work with each other. We still, we were good friends after Tocantins. I was hoping he was going to be on my tribe, to be honest with you, and he wasn't, but we didn't talk at all. I didn't talk to anybody that I knew was going on the show before the show, but Coach was never a concern. I always knew if Coach and I could work together, we would.
Yeah, we didn't know it was Heroes Villains, right? It was like All-Star. We just knew it was All-Stars. We didn't know like what the theme was.
That's right.
Yeah.
Was there that same camaraderie that now you see like in the current day and even with the first couple seasons where you guys are hanging out constantly after you guys filmed Tocantins leading up to Heroes versus Villains? Were you like together all the time?
We were together a lot. Yeah, I would say. I mean, I was with Steven all the time, pretty much. Whatever.
Well, I actually moved to Alabama, so that was one reason.
Yeah, that was one reason for sure. And he definitely didn't have anyone else hang out with here.
Yeah.
Did you move to Alabama?
Yeah, for a couple months. Yeah, it was great. I had a great time. We had so much fun.
Talk through that.
It was imprisonment, but he was here.
Yeah, it was just great. I don't know, like it was like an opportunity. Like I didn't have to be anywhere, and so like to get to hang out with my buddy and like I would say work on the ranch, but more like watch him work on the ranch. I think is a more appropriate way of phrasing that. Like it was so much fun. We just like live the life, live the dream. Before they kicked me out, before I was expelled from the state.
At what point, JT, going into now Heroes versus Villains, do you know that is the theme? Like, was it day one when you get your buffs that you know that it's Heroes versus Villains, or did that become apparent in the pregame?
I think it was like day one. I don't remember knowing how they were splitting us up or anything until we got our buffs, actually.
Yeah. And then you see, Coach and Tyson in the distance. Were there the same looks of eye contact that were being given the first time to Coach that time as well?
Maybe kind of. I mean, I was definitely throwing them at him like, hey, maybe this time we're working together, I was worried a little bit. Maybe Tyson may have some hard feelings. But at the end of the day, there were so many other people to be worried about other than me. I felt like Tyson and Coach were probably had their hands full with their tribe. If we made merge, I felt like we were definitely working together, or I hope so.
And you, JT, spent quite a bit of time with him in the jury after you guys are both booted. And he's talking, JT, about the Dragons, the band. He's talking about it all the time. Still,
really?
It's been a minute. Oh yeah, I see clips of the Dragons that are being posted. He's really propagating the Dragons.
Wait, he's promised that like the Dragons are going to release their first album after he gets back from 50, didn't he? Didn't he say something to that effect? Are you aware that you're going to be releasing an album?
Well, I have been contacted a couple times since, but no, I was not aware we're releasing the album. Actually, I was think Norwood reached out. We've done like a picture for the cover of a potential album. This has been probably 5 or 6 years ago. I have no idea. The problem with that is somebody has to really be able to sing, and I'm not sure any of us can. So we're going to have a problem there.
Yeah, I recently just got to see Coach perform for the first time. He had a show. I'm in New York, JT, so he had a show right down the street from me, where he performed with a guy, Ben Katzman, who was a couple seasons ago. And they performed together. You know, Coach did sing. He's playing the guitar. He's playing the trumpet. He's doing it all. You know, the guy. He's a multifaceted guy. You know, they don't lie to you.
No doubt. Coach could do anything. I actually watched him play on TV, of course, but the Buffalo Bills playoff game last year, I think it was last year or the year before, he played the national anthem. That was pretty cool. That was a big deal.
Wow. Yeah, he's everywhere. You know, he's like, you close your eyes and he's somewhere new. Stephen, I want to ask you, how did Coach's like casting? How do you feel that changed the casting of Survivor after him?
I mean, I do think, like, you know, to your point about when Coach coming in for Heroes Villains, you know, clearly knowing that he was a little bit of a cartoon, not a cartoon, but like a character, a cartoonish character. I do think they kind of like sought that out. And I think actually like Randy was like a step in that trajectory too. I mean, Randy was more just like, you know, he like played the curmudgeonly old man, you know, even more than he is that. And then I think Coach kind of like took that to the next level. But it did seem certainly for a while afterwards that they were really looking for those like character types who would play up their kind of absurdity. I mean, Philip Shepard is the obvious successor to Coach in a lot of ways. He even had the feather. But I think, and then, you know, there were a lot of other big characters kind of in that mid-20s era. In a way, Coach was ahead of his time because he was like memeing before now everyone out there they're like memeing, they're like getting their, you know, their little viral moment. Every one of Coach's moments would have been a viral moment had Tocantins aired, you know, in today's time.
And people still reference the Martyr approach, the final 5 of your season of Tocantins, and that walk in from Exile Island and the immunity challenge and the fall. JT, what do you remember about that? How was that for you?
Oh man, it was tough. You know, Steven and I had talked about, you know, we're not going to take each other when it comes down to it. But I knew I was taking Steven, so I was like, oh, Coach is really not going to like this. We all knew pretty much we were going to vote him out if we could the following challenge. So to send him to exile and right before he's voted out, it was almost like he made me feel sorry for him a lot. But as soon as Steven and I were on our way to the reward, I forgot about that part. You know, we were so excited. Steven, you have to take me, Jet. I was like, I'm taking you, Steven.
Yeah. And there's a scene where you're like, I promise you, Steven, I'm taking you. You know, do you promise me? And I'm like,
yeah, I know you wouldn't have taken me.
Yeah. Do you remember when he fell on that? You know, he actually was doing pretty well on that, like, hold yourself up challenge. You know, for all that Coach gets crap about, you know, not being as physical as maybe we imagined he would be. He did very well in challenges, and not just the Pinball Wizard challenge. But you know, like, and then he had that like classic fall where he screams out, you know, do you remember that? Like,
yeah.
you know, like, what did you think of that?
Don't do that to me, Steven. I mean, I thought,
no, but like, I mean, I actually sort of took it sincerely. You know, I remember like running over to him.
I remember seeing your face, and I was like, oh God.
Yeah,
don't look at
Steven. I mean, I guess you also were winning immunity at that point. It's not like you were.
Don't look at Steven, you're going to smile. You know, I was, you know, I just put the attention on him. Like I, you know, made him feel okay for. I was just glad he fell, so the challenge was over. But I don't know. I felt like it kind of hurt his pride a little bit. He may have played it up a little bit, of course.
Yeah,
what do you
that's
think,
his way.
What do you think, Steven?
Yeah, no, I mean, I at the time, like, yeah, you know, someone like screams and collapses in front of you. I mean, yeah. Brandon, what's your interpretation of that scream? Can you do your version?
Well, I mean, I'm in a very small apartment. Yeah, I'm going to wake up 5 families if I scream loud enough. But it goes on for like a second too long. Like it's a second into maybe faking it. But that first wail is a sincere wail, I think.
Yeah, he was like, it's a hard challenge. I mean, it's really hard, and he was doing great. I mean, not as great as JT, but like he was doing great, you know, really, really well. And I think you're right. Like he probably hurt his pride a little bit there.
Yeah, I had the same challenge against Parvati in the next season, and she killed it. She killed me.
Well, she's unbelievable at those things.
Yeah, those things are tough. My feet are my weakness.
Tell me, what is Coach like off the show, but as the show is airing? I'm sure you guys are traveling around together. Like, what's it like what's a dinner with Coach like?
He's like a smart, cultured guy. He he talks about, he's really invested in classical music. He drinks, I don't know, like this sounds corny, like, oh, he drinks whiskey. Like, look how cultured he is. But like, truly, like, he does. He's and back then too, like, that was a little ahead of the curve. He's like a smart, like, thoughtful, cultured guy. I do think it was hard for him in Tocantins era because he was getting a lot of hate, like, because he was, as like JT was saying, like, they made him a villain.
Yeah, I agree. I had to, like, everybody that watched the show, they were like, man, I hate that coach. I'm like, y'all really should meet the guy. He's really nice, really genuine. Like I said, I would take him. You could take him anywhere around anybody. He's always going to be at his best, very polite, well-spoken. I mean, he's a pleasure to be around all the time, really.
Do you think that who do you think he's going to connect with most on season 50? Is he going to be like looking for Sari, his heroes, villains, friend? Or you think he's going to go for these new players who might like look up to him as sort of like this big figure in the game? Or, what's his, what about, Colby's out there. Colby and he will have to have a rematch. Oh, thanks. Thank you. So
we got everybody here.
Guys, my computer messed up, but now it's it.
Stephanie, Sari. Oh, Ozzy. Gosh, Ozzy and you've got rivalry.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got quite a few people that he has previous relationships with, which is not like everybody. Like, he is, I think, maybe the most connected out of the older folks in terms of who he's played with. Like that whole row, sans Jenna, he's played with. But JT, do you have any thoughts on maybe who he might be hanging with once he's out there?
I think Colby, I'm sure him and Colby will be they're working together if they're on the same tribe. But Coach is a natural, like, he really wants to lead. I think he'll be taking some young people under his wing more than anything, or he'd like to. It's going to be hard to take any of those returning players there under his wing because they've all played their own share quite a bit. But man, Ozzy's such a beast in water challenges. They better be buddying up to him pretty good, whoever's tribe he's on.
I mean, do you think there's going to be lingering like animosity from South Pacific when they were like team captains against each other?
Who, Ozzy and Coach?
Yeah.
Were they team captains? I can't even remember.
Yeah, that was the season Sophie one, where there was like Coach's tribe, and then Ozzy had his tribe.
That's right. They did. There could be. I would suspect that Sari and Ozzy will be working together if they're on the same tribe for sure. They seem to always be together.
Yeah, the rumor mill that's been swirling has been saying that there is some resentment still from how South Pacific ended on the part of Ozzy into Coach. I'm sorry, Coach views that he didn't win that season because of Ozzy, because Ozzy and his tribe didn't vote, for Coach once he hit that final three, which is interesting. You see a South Pacific coach, his third time, he kind of falls into the role as this master strategist, which he wasn't the first two times. What do you think that caused that shift in between time 2 and 3 that thrust him into the role? Was that with who he was with, he got lucky that he was the more alpha type character, or did he like calculated change his strategy, do you think?
Me, I think probably as he assumed the leader role, like the fatherly figure of that tribe, I felt like they all kind of looked to him because he was the only one on that tribe that had played previously, if I remember correctly. And I think that kind of just started the strategist role. I don't believe he calculated playing exactly like that. I think he kind of read the room. When they all kind of looked up to him, I think that kind of gave him that lead role.
I mean, also just playing Survivor 3 times against, or having played twice before against people who have played no times. It's such a huge advantage. And especially, Emily Flippins had that good point, like the biggest advantage is just that initial kind of comfort with what's happening to you. When she was talking about Bruce having, coming back, and he's like, I barely played before. But it's like, you've done this. And like, this is the hardest part. It's like coming out here, doing that pregame stuff, walking onto the beach, like making those having those first conversations, like, and just like have done that a couple of times. And, then it gives you a lot of experience. I do bet that there was some part of Coach that kind of wanted to, move his game forward. And I think that's what's so cool about Coach coming back now is I bet there's like a real, my guess is that he's going to like want to both capture like the glory days of Coach, like really play up the like Dragon Slayer stuff, but also have like a more nuanced, mature perspective because now he's like a dad too.
Yeah. I mean, I think you'll do well. I really do. I think you're right too. I think he'll probably not play up the Dragon Slayer as much, hopefully.
I don't know though, because like he's got like, he hasn't been on TV, when he was on TV, back to back, like every year basically for 3 years. And then now he hasn't been on TV for, how long has it been? Like 14 years or whatever.
14 years.
So, there's probably a lot of, the Dragon Slayer's been waiting to come roaring back to life.
Now, JT, I'll bring this graphic up again, is you've played with now, I believe, 6 of the folks that are playing for season 50. So I'd love to like rapid fire, give you the person. You can give me, what it was like to play with that particular person.
Okay. Is it 6 or 5?
I believe it's
6.
I believe
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Give me your Colby takes. What was it like to play with Colby when you were there?
It was awesome. Colby was a great guy. And Colby was just the only thing different from what I remembered about Colby was he just didn't have the fire. He just didn't have it in him in the challenges that he was capable. He just didn't. I don't know. I'm not sure if he was just beat, but at any time you felt like Colby was not with us. Still athletic, still strong, and he needed a little confidence boosting going against Rob sometimes, but he's still a threat. Physically, if he could keep his mind in the game, he's a great threat. Colby's a great guy too.
Well, what's interesting is I actually talked to Tina Wesson on this same podcast about Colby, and I had asked her, like, he seems a little bit tired and disinterested the last time that he was there, and she said that she had told me that he feels embarrassed by it, and they've talked about it recently, is where he is now wanting to go back to kind of redefine that legacy that he had left behind, where he doesn't, there was maybe an air of that he was like maybe bigger than the show. He maybe had like a way about him that was like he was there for them. Whereas I think he's back in it because he wants to change that perception.
Maybe so. That would be awesome because he's a heck of a competitor and a great guy. He was just really quiet when we played together. I felt like he was on the outs. He was just kept to himself a lot, but great guy, man, and a great competitor.
What's interesting about Stephanie and Suri is they've now both done 2 shows in between them doing Heroes versus Villains together. They did an hour-long show called Snake in the Grass, which was like a mole type show that Suri ended up winning, and then they do the Traders where Suri also ends up winning. And I know that they weren't there in Heroes versus Villains for a ton of time, but do you have any insight into how that relationship might look once they're both there together again?
Well, Stephanie, I've always been a huge fan, but I actually ran into her at a wedding. We have a mutual friend that we didn't know about. My wife's niece was married, and she was at the wedding, and we spent some time. It was really hot. We were in like South Florida, sweating our butts off. But I got to know Stephanie outside the game for a while there too. But I love Stephanie. She's awesome. She was a fighter. I rooted for her so hard when it was her and Bobby John, the only 2 left, and Palau. I think Stephanie is the ultimate competitor, and for the physical challenges for females, she's probably one of the strongest. She is really tough, but man, she puts her mind to something. She wants it. So I think that I don't know about her and Suri's relationship, but they are both very cunning players. I have to believe that they are going to be ready to work with each other.
Have you, Steven, do you have any insight into maybe how they will eventually get along? Stephanie has been bested by Suri now, I think 2 separate times very publicly. And, the streets are saying Stephanie's not super thrilled about it. Stephanie's coming in hot this time.
Yeah. Oh, I missed that. Can you give me an update, Brandon, that there was some sort of like Stephanie versus Suri like drama, like post them having left?
I didn't know that.
I mean, like Suri, like straight up, deceived Stephanie on Traders. Like she just like lied to her and tricked her. But that's the game.
That is the game. So the Snake in the Grass show that they both did was 4 contestants, one of which is picked by the producers as kind of the mole. They have to do 3 challenges, and the mole is supposed to make them lose the challenge. And Stephanie got caught right away in the episode by Suri. And then Suri is out. I'm sorry, Stephanie is outed as that mole. So the streets have been saying that Stephanie's been going around saying that her target once she gets on this season is going to be Cerie. Stephanie wasn't super shy about it. On the, and all these events, people are going to watch the show every week. Stephanie's been kind of vocal. So I'm interested to see how the relationship ultimately ends up, but I think they're both going to be going right for each other. So we'll see.
That'll be exciting.
It'll be exciting. What's your, you spent some time, JT, with Ozzy. What's Ozzy like on the island?
Oh man, Ozzy is huge asset on the island. No one's ever gonna. Ozzy is a fish when he's in the water. He's hard to match. I mean, I like to compete with everybody on everything. Ozzy, I couldn't touch him in the water. I mean, it's unbelievable what he can do. For hours, he'll go out with a Hawaiian sling for hours, just treading water, and come back with a string full of fish. And I'll be so exhausted after 10 minutes of trying to keep myself afloat, as well as the bag to keep up with what fish I might catch. It's unbelievable. Any water challenge, Ozzy's going to win it. His tribe is going to win it. I mean, unless someone else comes along with that kind of water skill, but I have never seen it. Ozzy is a beast in the water. He's a great guy too, and plays a good game. Ozzy, he's a quiet camp life guy, and he keeps to himself. He does his walking around, and it makes people suspicious sometimes, but he's just being Ozzy. If he can just, pay more attention to the social part of it, he could go far. His competitiveness is unmatched. I mean, he's so good in the water. It's unbelievable.
Do you think can players change? We've seen Ozzy 4 times now. And he's never been probably his most strategic season. I don't even know if this is true. I would say is Cook Islands, where he comes in but can he change? Can people become I couldn't become. I could work out a lot, but I can't become a good challenge competitor. It's just not in my DNA. Can someone become more strategic?
They can. I believe they could. But it's so hard to I mean, you see people doing it now. They go the whole show by deceiving their everyday life, their job, or whatever makes their living. They'll be slightly, changing that. But it's so hard, man. Steven, by the end of the game, when I was playing with you guys, I mean, I felt like I'd known you forever.
Right.
Where I was hiding from you, I lost it about halfway through. You know what I'm saying? I told you anything by that point. If Ozzy could come in and be more strategic, yeah, he could definitely. But he needs with a plan and stick with it. But he can't change. He cannot compete and not be competitive in the challenges. That part he'll never be able to change. But he could come in and be more strategic. It would be easier to do that than just say work out and become good at challenges. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wonder if the 26-day season that's a lot faster or a lot shorter is going to have to. I wonder how the people will adapt to that, because I don't know, Brandon, you've lived that life. There's probably less of a premium, even certainly by the 30s, nobody cared how much fish he caught. But I imagine that's even less true or even more true today, where it's we're gonna be on a different tribe in a week.
Well, I think what will maybe be the Ozzy downfall is there's no downtime anymore.
Yeah.
Where I think Ozzy's best work, the fish catching and the food finding, is done in that downtime. Whereas you're now in Challenge Tribal Council most days. I do wonder if that the thing that he's the best at is now kind of taken from him in a way where he has to adapt. But thinking about adapting, I mean, Coach that third time kind of leans into this strategist role where he hadn't been in it the first couple times. So I am curious to see if Ozzy can do that. And on the flip side, JT, you play with Aubry as well, who is known for just strategy. And she's back out here again as well. So curious to see how that'll go from her perspective. She, just like Coach, did within the span of 3 years, she did 3 different times on Survivor. And she has also now had about a 10-year-ish break. So that should be exciting to see also.
Yes, I love Aubry too, man. She was awesome. I loved having her. We were pretty tight allies right when I was voted out of the Game Changer season. She was shocked too, but I enjoyed playing with her a lot. She's very intelligent, which was what I needed. Some smarts out there. I think she'll do good. She'll always do good. She can read the room. She'll find the right group. She'll do good.
What's the skill though, then, Brandon? Because I feel like downtime is what. That's sort of where people create alliances. That's where kind of strategy, at least when we were on, came into play, because you had this tremendous amount of downtime. You use that to sort of build bonds with people, to kind of come up with ideas. Like, what's the skill that makes someone a good strategic player in contemporary Survivor?
I think it's the adaptability and the you have to be adaptability, but you have to be adaptable rather, but also the quickness in which you need to make those decisions where there's not as much time now to think about, you guys you have tribal council on day, 33, and then you have day 34, 35, and then 36 to vote somebody out again. Whereas it is literally, it's within hours that you're voting somebody off. As soon as you hit that maybe halfway point, it's a tribal council every day, and the reward challenge or immunity challenge rather during the day, where it's like that game is played within the 2 hours in between the challenge and tribal council, where you have players like in Ozzy who, when their game is kind of built around the survival aspect, that's really less of a thought than it's ever been in terms of finding the food and what have you.
But I would think that would hurt someone like Sari too, where like one of her superpowers is she builds these like deep bonds with people, and then she sort of like, weaves her like, web of intrigue, and like is able to kind of like get people to really, play not for her, but like, like to sort of like control kind of what everyone is doing. I would think that sort of like, and now this guy, and now that guy, and now that guy, like that kind of thinking like will hurt her too.
Well, what's interesting about Sari in particular is, I'm not sure, JT, how much you know of this, but the Australian franchise of Survivor just had a season that was 2 weeks long. We don't know how Sari did in it, but Sari has played in that with Parvati and with Tony Vlachos, the three of them. There were only 12 contestants. They played for 2 weeks, but Sari has now played a abbreviated version of Survivor, which I think is infinitely helpful here. Because I do agree with that point, is her best work is, I think Kyle Frazier said it, like played in the margins is what he described in his game, is, that his best strategy is played kind of when nothing's going on. But Sari is now like felt a game where it's a lot quicker. So I'm wondering if that will be a struggle for your folks who are coming back, having only played the 39-day edition of the show, where it is very nonstop. So we'll see. Is there anybody, JT, that you played with that you wish you were seeing back out there for another round?
Yeah, Steven.
Don't wish that on me. I don't want to go. I'm done.
I don't want to go, he said. Oh man, I don't know.
I wish you were going. Were you contacted at all? Like I wish you were in the
I was not.
I was crazy because like you are, every time you go out, you've delivered,
I wouldn't say that.
Well, not always the win, but like I delivered the big moments.
Actually, the last two.
What?
I didn't feel like I delivered at all actually on the last two.
That was great. The RHAP thing was one of my favorite moments. RHAP thing in Game Changers that was one of my favorite moments of Survivor. That's hilarious. Man, that's like truly one of the funniest things.
I was desperate. I was like outnumbered 5-1. I was like, what are the chances? But I should have known. If you ever get comfortable, it's coming.
And you're the first person to ever stand up and walk across, the tribal council set. That's a real, speaking of Game Changers.
Don't bring out all my regrets out.
I know it didn't work out, but it was cool.
Didn't work out. No.
Well, then everyone was doing that after you did it. Like it suddenly, like that actually changed the game, because like after that, like every tribal council for a few seasons was like that way.
I wished so much that I'd had got with Culpepper and came up with a secret hand signal thing or something at that point. But I was just like, there's no way I'm going to be able to pull this off. So I was like, well,
that was such a cool moment.
Sit down. So I'll just try to walk over and tell him, but
were you nervous when you did that? Of like, oh my gosh, they're going to like tell me not to?
No, I didn't know. I was just thinking I was going to say it before they stopped me, kind of thing. But I had no idea what to expect. So I've lived that moment. I should have. There's a lot of regrets about that because it didn't work out at all. But I don't know. Maybe they were. I'm beginning to think that idols are just cursed anyway. I don't want to ever get an idol. I never do anything good with an idol. I've noticed that. So I think that, I never really considered they would do anything to me other than, just say, hey, we can't do that. And I was going to like blurt it out anyway to Brad Culpepper. But, I'd probably play again if they asked me, but it's no sweat off my back either way.
What you do effectively, JT, every time that you're there is you do big swings, which like the new era motto is like, make the move, like if you can swing, you should swing. Which surprises me that they wouldn't have wanted that for a season where you do have like just in this group, swingers is not the word that I want to use, but you have a lot of folks who have made those moves in their seasons, which is funny. You jokingly are like, going to the vending machine at the airport. That's a swing. You might get in trouble. You don't care, which whispering at tribal council does effectively change the meta of the show for a little bit. So I'd be curious to see how you adapt to this new 26-day game that they have, which is unlike what you've done previously. Have you given thought to that when you watch of how you do in this new format?
A little bit. One of the hardest things about the first season was for me, maybe for Steven too, but the downtime, the dead day was so long, and we had already made our mind up what we were going to do at Tribal. So we literally had to just like lay around and let the sun bake us for, 24 hours before we could do anything. It was so long. It just seemed like the days were so long, but to me, the shorter time span would fly by. It would be a lot more action packed, a lot less downtime. But I'm like Ozzy, the longer I'm there, the better more I'm in my element, the more advantage I would have. But I like to think that, when if it's 7 days or 40 days, I could do it, but that's everybody, I'm sure.
Everybody wanted, not me, but like a lot of people said that, like, in their pregame assessment for you, like when all the pregame press came out for Tocantins, they were like, I got to vote this guy off. He can't sit still. He's all over the place. I feel like you do really well in like a more, action-packed, frenetic season.
I appreciate it, Steven.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Is there anybody, JT, that has like stuck out to you in just the past couple of years in this like new era of Survivor? Somebody that you remember that you really liked?
Man, I can't say for sure. I haven't watched every season, so I don't want to like just pick the one or two seasons I've seen. But I couldn't say.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Not the last few seasons, not since the shorter game. I haven't really watched that much.
Colby is back out there after, from what I understand from Now Tina, he didn't watch for years. Like he didn't watch since even Heroes versus Villains the last time, but he's now gone back and studied. He's watched every season of the new era. He's coming in with a dossier of each person. So you have people who are coming in that also are, not new era experience, that maybe just watched them a month ago as opposed to a couple weeks ago. So it'll be exciting. It's an exciting time.
Yep.
I want to ask you, Steven, what's your, it's 15 years you've been friends with JT. Still, people play Survivor 15 years ago. They lose touch. What's the best part about your JT friendship in the current day?
I would just say it's nice to we'll just like exchange a text or a call every so often, and just like pick up right where we were. It feels like can hassle each other, send insults. It just like it feels like it's just like indoors, which is really cool.
Yep, absolutely.
I was going to ask you, JT, the same thing. What's your favorite part about Steven? What's this partnership? What makes it work?
He's he knows where I stand. And I know where he stands. He's always going to be the same. He'll tell me the truth when no one else wants to. Steven will be, like we said a long time ago, he'll be my best friend forever. The years are going so fast, it doesn't seem like it's been 15 years since we were together in Nashville hanging out or somewhere. There's so many things I can think about when I'm by myself or sitting in my house about Steven and just be smiling. Cameron's like, what are you smiling at? I'm like, well, I'm just thinking about Steven. We had a good time.
I'm touched by that. Thank you. That's beautiful.
And your family too, man. I went to LA and Steven wasn't even there, and they opened their home to Cameron.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, they're probably happier that you were there without me.
They actually treated me better when Steven wasn't there. So I was like, this is pretty nice.
It is wild. Like I definitely, we got to know each other's families really well. And then I'll still every so often I'll get like an email, I'll make a message from his sister or something,
I'm sorry about that, Steven.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give me some of these, you mentioned Nashville, JT. Like, I love hearing the stories from back in the day. Like, give me one of the times that you guys were around. Something that you can tell, obviously, that'll people will hear. But
it's all PG. Yeah,
it's all PG.
Nothing I couldn't tell. There's a lot of. We were in Nashville. Of course, I had no idea what a seat filler was. We were going to the CMT Awards, and I was just like, what are these people lining up here? And I'd never really understood it till we went and got a drink. And I was like, Steven, somebody's in our seats, man. He's like, no. It's cool, man. I was like, no, somebody's in our seats. What do we do? He's like, they'll get up. I was like, are you sure? Because I had no idea that they're going to fill our seats while we're going kind of thing. So I just thought somebody stole our seats, so I kind of got culture shock there. But I remember we were like, well, let's just try to, because a lot of people recognize this, especially when we're together. And we're like, well, we'll just try the Kid Rock party. So we're marching up, just figured we'd try to march right on in, and it didn't work out. Apparently, they don't work. The guy just turned me around at the door. I was like, all right, well, we'll try next time, you know. But
and
yeah,
Todd
good
was
time.
there, and we went to have breakfast with she took us to some like
Yep.
cool breakfast place, and like not because of anything I ate at this breakfast place. I just got so stomach sick. I spent the entire time in the bathroom while they had a wonderful meal. So really, gastrointestinal distress was following me even then.
Did that meal we ate where they pass around the bowl
Yeah.
on the table of Batage? That was so good.
Whoa, sorry about that.
It's okay. Don't be sorry. That meal was so good with Taj, man. So good. In the cupcake place, I can't remember where it was at. Every time I go to Nashville, I'll think about that dinner place, though. I've tried to find it again, but I couldn't find it.
Mystery. Only Taj.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there anybody other than Steve and JT that you still keep in contact with from any of the Survivor seasons you did?
I still talk to Coach occasionally. And I hadn't talked to Ozzy in a while, but like I said, seen Stephanie about a year and a half ago in Florida, and we hung out for a weekend. But did I talk to? No, not just Coach and Todd and Steven, probably for the most part. Tyson
is the best. Is there anybody, Steven, in your book Escape that you can pre-order now? Is there anybody loosely based on JT? Any JT reminiscence?
There's this like idiot cattle rancher who like makes just mistakes constantly, totally bumbling buffoon, ends up winning, doesn't deserve to, next to a very like handsome other. No, there's nobody who's like one-to-one, you know. Of course, like I just like, you know, took was inspired just by the general vibe of reality TV contestants, but there's no like one-to-one player.
Super cool. Well,
take that. Yeah.
I am so thrilled that we got the chance to chat. This is, again, people, JT, like even in the new era seasons, you are constantly referenced. You and JT, or I'm sorry, you and Steven are constantly referenced on the island. Awesome. People say to each other on day one, like, we can be JT and Steven. So people are going to be thrilled getting to hear you.
Nobody wants to be the Steven, though. Everyone's like, I want to be the JT of that. Like Nick,
that's not true.
Nick Wilson says to Christian, like, we're JT and Steven. And he, in fact, became, he won, and Christian did not. So there you go.
New era casting is mostly Stevens, where it's a lot of Stevens. The JT
that's the problem with new era casting, is it's like too many Stevens, not enough JTs.
We're not getting a ton of JTs in current day Survivor. But JT, thank you again so much for making some time here to chat about Coach. Before you go, I'd love to get both of your, Steven, I'm not sure if you're on the record with a winner pick for season 50, but if you have anybody who you're getting a good vibe from, I'd love to hear it.
I'll say Rick Devens. Like, Rick's a good friend, and I actually think Rick could be in the sweet spot. And people are gonna hate this. There's like a lot of people in like the real, the Twitter fandom that do not like Rick. They're wrong. Rick's a lovely human. He's a great guy. He played a really good game. And I feel like he's like nicely situated between the old school and the new school to do really well. My other one is Tiffany. I feel like she might have a little bit of that. She played a really smart game last time, and I think like now she might have a little bit of the sort of like under the radar threat because Q is such a big player on that season. I feel like Tiffany could be a real threat to win too.
Yeah, Tiffany's up there. Tiffany is I see her name a lot on these Twitter, Reddit. People really feel good about Tiffany. So I think I'm piggybacking off that one. I think Tiffany might be up there for me.
Man, that's tough because I know I got who I want to win, who I like, my closest friends there. But I'm gonna say Aubry or Coach is gonna do well. One of them.
I've seen both of their names. Aubry too. Aubry's a very popular winner pick for this round. And just JT, just because I thought of it here, you play on 2 seasons, Heroes vs. Villains and Game Changers, where you're one of the only winners that are there. They invited 2 winners back for season 50. And I'm wondering, how did you navigate like being on a tribe where I think Heroes vs. Villains, you and Tom are the only winners, I think. I've been doing that quickly in my head.
Sandra was on there on my tribe, you mean, or on the whole season?
Yes. Also on Heroes vs. Villains, you were just with Tom was on your tribe of you guys were the only winners on that team. And then once you get over to Game Changers, you have Sandra, and then Tony's, I guess, opposite you guys. So what is it like to navigate these games when you're one of the only 2 or 3 winners that are there?
I mean, it's tougher, obviously. I mean, like they were coming for me. They had just watched my season on Heroes Villains, and I felt the pressure. But it's anybody's game. It really doesn't matter if you won before or not. I think that meant more back then than it probably will this time. just because the returning players, they can make it with or without you either way. They know that it's all a different game. I don't think it's going to hurt anybody or help anybody. Are there any returning winners on there now? I don't think so.
Yeah, there's Kyle has just won.
Okay.
Who else? There's one other who I'm totally bringing. Oh,
And
D is out there.
Yes.
And then there may be, there's one other from 49, maybe, who knows?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, they have 2 unidentified folks from season 49 who just filmed. They left a week later to go play again. So we're unsure of how those folks did. But yeah, Kyle and D. I mean, Kyle got the $1 million check on Wednesday.
Those two have a slight advantage, I would say, because no one has seen those two play, and they have seen everyone else play. So that's something they're going to have to prepare for.
But don't you think now after the Russell of it all, people will be super wary of that? I mean, everyone says that though, but then you abstractly you think you're going to be wary, but I wonder if practically you're not going to be as scared.
Assume the worst, assume the most bizarre characters, because that's what it was for me. But there's nothing like going into one and coming right out of a game. I've never been more prepared to play than I was the last, week of the game that I was in with you, Stephen. Had I played immediately following that, I mean, I would be right in my rhythm.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be near as fun. I mean, everything would be, you're in that game mindset where everything's so fast, everything's so quick and cutthroat. I feel like anybody going right into it back to back has an advantage for sure.
And you, JT, play with Zeke and Michaela are both on your season, which they had played the one before, and nobody had any inclination as to how they did. The same with Russell back in Heroes vs. Villains. Mm-hmm. And those folks always do well on that second try. They always end up making 9th and above.
They are in the mindset you're in at the end of the game, which is completely different than the beginning. I mean, you're literally cutthroat. In the end, you're ready. You're ready to just cut strings, whatever you got to do. The beginning of the season, to me, especially our first one, was nothing but building relationships, trying to find people you can relate to or trust and work with. If you're past that, at the end of the game, it's just all about you, and that's how they start the game in that mindset. I mean, it's definitely an advantage. Not that it's unfair, it's just definitely an advantage, though, for sure.
Yeah. And I wonder if we're at the point now to where people will, because it seems like the last time it happened was with you, Zeke and Michaela. I don't know if people have kind of caught on to how big of an advantage that is. And this might be the time where they pull trigger on it.
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be wise of them to, because, it's an open book. They have nothing. They have no prejudgment, which may be good, may be bad. I don't know about those players at all. All they can assume is that they done well. And if they brought them back, they better assume they done really well, or they made really good TV.
Yeah, I just think it's abstractly maybe that it's scary, but then it's so easy, much easier to lock in in your brain on someone who you actually have context for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting debacle. It just feels like an easy third or fourth vote out, as opposed to the first vote you maybe want to take out at a big entity, a recognizable person who may be a threat, as well as you lose the third immunity challenge and you're shrugging, and it's let's just take out this random person who we don't know. But we will see. Steven, do you want to go ahead and plug where people can get Escape online?
Yeah, Escape is available. Escape ! My novel is available at StephenFishbach.com. Anyone who's interested in reading it, would like to read it, it's a fictional novel set on a reality show in the jungle. So I feel like anyone who's here with us 52 minutes in, it might be interested in that subject. So I'd love it if you go. JT Thomas has ordered a copy. And my gosh, this guy doesn't even know how to read. So if you know how to read,
exactly. Well, I want to make sure I got you. You are doing the audiobooks for me, right? You're reading it.
I was told that you would read the audiobook.
Oh, yeah, of course. Why not?
Is that
nobody will be able to understand it, unfortunately.
But that might be, there's an appeal to that.
It's gonna be good, man. I'm excited about it.
Well, thank you very much. He texted me. He's like, "Hey, I got your book." I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I hadn't even messaged my friends.
He hadn't told me. I was like, "Why is he not telling me about this? I'm gonna order it right now
before he can pull it from the shelves."
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you guys both again. Speaking as a fan of the show, it is so much fun to get to see you guys interact again like you did, back in the day. So thrilled. We will be back again next time on the Survivor 50 Files. Stay tuned, everybody. Have a good one. Goodbye. Thank you to our friends at Manta Sleep for sponsoring this episode of the Survivor 50 Files. You've made it to the end of the podcast. You've been here long enough. Let me show you my sleep mask, the one that I use and I use every night. Here it is. I've worn this every night for the past couple years, minus the 4 nights that I spent on Survivor, the television show. And it sucks to get voted out of Survivor, but a little bit better when you know you're going back home to this. This is 100% light blackout for deeper sleep. You put this on, can't see anything. When I watched the first 2 episodes of Survivor 45, I put this guy on. I don't have to relive it, which is great. It's adjustable for a personalized fit. You can see I have quite a big head. I don't want to show you the details of, I've kind of worn out the elastic, but it's durable. This guy hasn't broke. I've worn it every night for the past couple of years, and it's zero pressure on your eyelids or eyelashes. I've converted so many people to getting this sleep mask when I wasn't doing this, and I want to convert you. Use promo code 50files. That's 50 FILES on the Manta Sleep website to get 10% off your order. That's 50 files, 50 FILES. We'll see you soon.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.